What's up everyone, welcome back to another episode of Books and Beers. So I don't usually start the videos trying to promote something that we do, but I really want to encourage you guys to go follow us on Books and Beers Club on Instagram. We post really good content there, including tips of how you guys can talk to authors of books that you read, including how I talked to the author of this book and he agreed for me to send him a copy for him to sign it and get it back to me. Just yesterday, I actually got it back and I got something special. I did a video about it on our Instagram and I posted there. So go check it out so you can see what that special thing is. Now for today's book, we have one of the favorite books that I've read this year. It is called Greenlights. It is the autobiography of Matthew McConaughey, the really famous actor. I found out about this book in a podcast that I listen to sometimes called Part of My Take. Part of My Take, you guys might have heard of it, focuses on sports. And even though I'm not super into sports, they have some really good guests that they do interviews. One of the interviews that they did recently was Matthew McConaughey. And just listening to the first few minutes about it, I realized that him talking about the book was a book that I had to buy. He's also done a bunch of other interviews, including the Joe Rogan podcast. I do recommend that one as well after you read the book. Let's get to the review. So in this channel, we always say that if you want to get into reading, you should start with an autobiography. And this book is a perfect example of that. I have a friend, Chavla, who's not super into reading, but he also listened to the Part of My Take episode. When he calls me a few days after that and tells me that he's already in page 100 the day after he got it in the mail, I realized that this book was going to be really good. And it was so good that I actually finished it myself in less than 48 hours. Yes, it was the weekend of my wisdom teeth surgery. Here's a picture of that. But I realized that once I started reading it, I really couldn't put it down. The reason for that is because Matthew McConaughey, he said it in the book and he said it in a lot of other interviews, grew up in a family of storytelling. So when it comes to the business of telling the story of his life, he was really good. I found it very similar to Shoe Dog, the autobiography of Phil Knight, one that Barney reviewed a few episodes back. A small difference is that Matthew McConaughey is really inspirational. And I knew that even though I'm not the biggest movie fan or the biggest Matthew McConaughey fan. He has a speech that he gave in the Oscars in 2014 when he won the Academy Award for the Best Actor that to this day I feel is one of the most inspirational speeches ever. Even though it's a little less than 4 minutes, it is one of those speeches that I can listen to over and over and it still gives me goosebumps. So based on that, I knew this book was going to be a great purchase and I got it. Another thing that makes this book really amazing, besides Matthew McConaughey being a very inspirational person, is that he's a really positive person as well. There's a line that I really liked, and I want to read it to you guys because it's super important. He says, and I quote, "I have a lot of proof that the world is conspiring to make me happy." Think about that for a second. Think about waking up every single day and thinking that everything that is happening outside is meant for you to be happy. He applies that in telling the story, and there's another ingredient that makes his story so good, which is that he kept a diary for 37 years, since he was 15 years old until he wrote this book. So instead of just free-minding it and recalling a few parts, he has it all written down. And the cool thing is you can also see portions of that diary that he includes in the book with pictures and stuff like that. He covers his entire life, how he grew up in Texas, how he had a very interesting family setup and values that he was raised in, the movies that he made when he was young, how he went to UT Austin, which is one of the things that are very well known about Matthew McConaughey, how he became famous and how he didn't like a few things of being famous, and among other things, how he went to Australia when he was 18 for a study exchange program. In Australia, he stays with a family called the Dooleys. Dooleys is also the name of a character in the very well-known Instagram account Friday Beers. In Friday Beers, they love Lagunitas IPA, but we already did that one. So today, we're going to be reviewing another IPA called Highlight, and that's our connection for today. In that part where he talks about his trip to Australia, something really funny happened to me. I was reading one of the stories, and then out of nowhere, after reading something, I started dying of laughter. Now picture this image. A guy with his cheeks super swollen, sitting in his room by himself at like 2 a.m. reading a book, and just starts dying of laughter for like 30 seconds straight. If that's ever happened to you, you started laughing after you're reading a book, you know that it's one of the funniest things that can ever happen. And that's one of the things I love about this book, that it really had it all. When that happened, I realized that this book is going to be ranked very high. And after thinking about it, I'm going to give it a 4.5 and definitely rank it in the read category. The beer is also really good. I have a hard time with IPAs because they taste somewhat similar, but different than the Lagunitas. This one's a little more bitter. So I'm going to give it a 4.1. I like it, hard beer, maybe one that you go and try in a brewery because it has a distinctive taste. Finishing with the book, I really liked it because it taught me a lot of things. Even though it wasn't self-help, it has helped me a lot in this year, and that's something that I want to share with you guys. So I want to finish with this thought. Maybe cue in some inspirational music. So when authors write an autobiography, they take a different approach in how they do so. Phil Knight, for example, took the approach of writing it from an entrepreneurship point of view and showing how you can build your own business. There's other people that aren't as good and they might just take the approach of just showing off the things they did. Matthew McConaughey, however, takes the approach of showing you how you can catch more green lights and how even the yellow and the red, meaning the things that aren't as good, eventually turn green too. And he does this in the book by showing the different instances where things might have gone from bad to good or things were just good, that he saw a green light in life and he keeps putting it green light, green light, green light. And I really like that, and I found it super relatable to 2020. This year hasn't been easy for any of us. We're being stuck at home with uncertainty, not being able to see your loved ones, and a lot of other things that you guys can list out. But for me, it took some time to reading books like this and sitting down and realizing that the good was yet to come, to realize that positive things were actually happening. I, for example, had the opportunity of graduating college and also starting a YouTube channel with one of my best friends and having 16 episodes over 16 weeks. I found the concept of green lights so good and so important that I actually even added as my background in my phone. Because I know that things eventually turn good too. So that's what I want to leave you guys with. The idea of just because things aren't good in the moment doesn't mean that they're going to turn good in the future. And just like he finished his speech when he won the Oscar, and he says it so many times in the book.
To that I say, all right, all right, all right.
Just keep believing. I really hope you guys enjoyed this review. It was one of the most important books I read this year and my last review for the year. We have some really cool things planned out for you guys, so stay tuned for next week since we're gonna have our dual review with Barney and myself since we were already both in Miami. If you wanna get the copy for you, you can find the link in the description. And also don't forget to subscribe to the channel because we post videos every single Wednesday. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.